realm of realness.
This video is mainly focused on Saturn symbolism. However, there's a lot more hidden symbolism that all ties back to the same elite families. They commonly use the black cube to describe Saturn symbolism. Notice that supposed Star of David, it's a hexagram. 6-point star represents Saturn. If you look close, you'll see the ring symbolism, Saturn and Satan, and thousands of logos. Coincidence? Nah, not when it's everywhere. There's a deeper meaning behind these occult symbols, and there's a dark intention behind them. The controlling forces there, sorcerers, witches, I mean, they understand alchemy, magic, magnetism. All these symbols produce power. They also tease the masses with all the symbols. They're all over your daily life. You probably don't even see them. Don't they say Satan was the angel of music? My thoughts is it's a metaphor, and it has something to do with the rings of Saturn. You know, Lord of the Rings. You know, speaking of movies, the Harry Potter movies, the whole series, I believe Hogwarts was them just subliminally telling you that's the secret mystery schools that the elite families put the kids in at an early age. They go to learn magic, alchemy, then they grow up to be the Hollywood actors, politicians, news, media. They run the corporations. They got full understanding of how to cast spells, how to harness the masses' energy. I wonder where the ring, when we get married, comes from. In Greek mythology, Saturn is Chronos, the controller of time, the perception of time, and our reality here. If space is even what they say it is, or what they tell us it is, Saturn was a star, and it most likely was our star before, you know, the sun, the star that we have right now was here. They say it's a planet. I mean, it's probably a planet now, but I believe it's a star or a dead star. I think Earth is as well, and that explains volcanoes to me. Leftover remnants of a star, dead star, and once in a while has to vent through these volcanoes. The core of the Earth is iron, they say. Coincidentally enough, Saturn's core is iron. It makes me think though, they got something hidden there, because the moment before a star goes supernova, the core turns to iron. Though planets and stars have the same cores, that tells me they're one and the same. All mythology and biblical battles in the heavens were all metaphors for the stars and planets. And you could look this up. All the names they use in mythology and all the different cultures, all those names are obviously translated to different language, but it's always talking about the planets or the stars. It's hidden in plain sight. Saturn's very significant to them. Saturn. Saturday is the 6th day of the week. Saturn's the 6th planet or plane. Satan, Saturn. We have a 6th sense. And then when we pass on, we go 6 feet deep. Then of course they bury us in a box, which symbolizes again Saturn. Now you know where the 6 feet apart came from. Let's see if there's any other Saturn symbolism. In Greek mythology, again, Saturn is Kronos. Then here you have the royal bloodlines. They call themselves the crown. They wear the royal crown on their head, paying tribute and homage to Saturn. The crown virus, coronavirus. And now you know what Beyonce's songs mean. Put a ring on it. Halo. Halo is the crown. Subliminally telling you she works for the crown. Saturn, Satan. The halo is obviously a crown. Sure, this is just another coincidence, of course. But Beyonce actually has royal bloodline ties. Goes back to a king. And I'm sure the common thing to say is we're all related to them somehow. Wake up. That's programming. It's more so just a psyop. Once people started putting these things together, they came out with the psyop that we're all related somehow. It's a small group of families, 13. Even smaller than that, the 5 Apple bloodlines, the Vatican, black nobility, the Roman Empire families. They changed their names now. They go under all kind of different names, so no one knows that these guys, the Roman Empire, they still run the world. Signs and symbols are everywhere. You remember Chingy from early 2000s. Had a couple bangers, couple real cool songs. And then just goes in that category of one-hit wonder type of thing, right? Let me show you a quick little video. I'll show you what really happened to Chingy. Yo, he woke up and got out of the industry quick. That's what happened.
But Europeans.
Europeans?
Yeah, Gentiles. They not Jews. They worship Saturn. That's what Satan is, just Saturn in the Bible. And we talking about the Vatican and all of them. They worship Satan, and that's Saturn. Gentiles are not Jews, but when you think about it, Jews come from the Judah. So even the people who think they Israelites, yeah, you still of that because you're born in one of those zodiacs. So you still of that, but you taking it literally, and you're not supposed to take it literally. Even in the Bible, it says these are allegory. You know what an allegory is? It's a made-up story that got a deeper meaning.
So you said that the Vatican worships Satan.
The Vatican worships Saturn. The Vatican worships Dagon, a fish god, and it goes back to, you know, if you ever know anything about the Assyrians and the Sumerians, and if you know anything about that, Dagon was this fish god, and the Vatican now. You gotta always look at things with knowing that they have a deeper meaning. Like I spend every day studying this stuff. Even from the robes that they wear, the black robes in the churches, you see I forgot what they call it, you see the priests and stuff wearing them black robes. Those robes represent Saturn. They'll never tell you this. And I ain't finna even get really too deep into all that. I'm just touching on it a little bit to give people, a little awareness so they can go do some researching themselves. Like a lot of these things that I've learned, it's a lot of good people out there that got a lot of knowledge, like Dr. Phil Valentine, Dr. Clark, Booker T. Coleman, Jordan Maxwell, Lloyd Pye, Michael Tellinger, Santos Bonacci. It's a lot of people, and it's more people that I've studied and paid attention to, man, and got some real good wisdom from. So and doing my own research and studies and coming to this knowledge.
Is the nature of Saturn and what Saturn is. It's very clear that at one point Saturn did not have rings, but was actually, I say Saturn is a dwarf sun, a dwarf star. I said Jupiter's the same. The Saturn gives off 2.5 times more energy than it receives from the sun. It is a form of star, not a planet as we perceive it. And the rings are artificial. Saturn, because he observed from the pictures sent back by the Voyager missions, Voyager 1 and 2 to Saturn, also to Jupiter, but to Saturn then, that there were gigantic electromagnetic phenomena in the rings of Saturn that were actually creating them. This all fits with what I say Saturn is. And it's one of the big pennies that dropped with me that brought this kaleidoscope into much greater focus, Jack, was when I realized that actually Saturn was once the prime sun of the Earth, from position to the one where it is now, and it didn't have rings. And there was this phenomenal cataclysm, which people like Emanuel Velikovsky wrote about in the 50s to great ridicule, of course, but people like David Tolbert and the Electric Universe fraternity now that have got this whole area of science, which is very, very credible. They are supporting this whole basic theme, not every detail, but the theme of Velikovsky's work, which was that there was this fantastic cataclysm, which links to the Great Flood and all the ancient accounts of the Earth tipping over and mountains soaring out of the Earth and all this stuff in the ancient past. Hexagon storm. Did I say hexagon? Hexagon storm is moving in relation to the radio signal emissions. And you can go on the internet and put in sounds from Saturn in a search engine, and you can hear some of these really horrible sounds that are being recorded coming out of Saturn. And what I'm saying here is that sound represents the information matrix that the human genetic manipulation recorded by all these ancient cultures has been tuned in to pick up and decode into reality. And what reality we would be, how our reality would be different if we weren't decoding that, what I call the hack, into our reality, into our sense of reality. I don't know, but I think it is substantial. And that if that was not broadcasting and we weren't receiving and transmitting in it through manipulated DNA, then I think the world that we would be experiencing through the conscious mind would be very different to the one we are now. Exactly in line with the Matrix movies.
Let's really freak people out, because one of the top experts in planetary life was asked about why go to Mars. And he said, I wouldn't even waste my time going to Mars. He said, I would go to Euclideus, Saturn's moon, or Titan. He mentioned Euclideus, and he said that is the closest possibility of Earth atmosphere holding life. It's like a little Earth, allegedly. So here we have not only Titan, but possibly Euclideus that could have life.
Yes, I think very different life to us, because, you know, what I'm going into now is that, you know, behind this reptilian element and behind possibly all this so-called extraterrestrial interaction, I prefer to call them interdimensionals, is a force which doesn't take form. It is like an electromagnetic form which can take any form, and it works through these other groups. And what I found fascinating was to read in some detail in the last few months the content of a find in Egypt in 1945 of a sealed jar of writings from a group that had become known as the Gnostics. The Gnostics were the people behind the great library of Alexandria, which was sacked and burned and destroyed by the Roman Church. They were basically the mentality behind the Cathars in southern France that were destroyed by the authorities and the Roman Church. Their last stand was at a castle called Montségur in, I think it was 1244, something like that. And what you see as a common theme is these Gnostic thinkers, these that have this Gnostic view of the reality and the universe, end up being slaughtered, and their information, if not being destroyed, then being taken out of public circulation. I think you'll find a lot of it in the vaults of the Vatican, personally. And it's interesting what these Gnostic writings talk about. About a fifth of the writings in these sealed container discovered in Egypt, which seems to go back to around 400 AD, which was in the period when the Great Library of Alexandria in Egypt was destroyed. About a fifth of the writings refer to a group of entities that they call the archons, and they talk about something called the demiurge, which is their version of what Christians would call the devil or Satan. And the archons were basically what Christians would call the demons, what Islamic Muslim people would call the jinn, and what others would call fallen angels, all this stuff. And it talks about how this physical world is the realm of the archons and the demiurge. It talks about the fact that they do not have what has been decoded or translated as intentionality, which I would describe, I think, more simply as creative imagination. They don't have it. And they therefore have to parasite off those who have and tap into their creative imagination and get them to create for them.
Planet Saturn, the Saturnalian Brotherhood. All you need to do is study Nazism, and you will begin to see that the powers behind the Nazi Party, the Thule Society, the Germanian Order, were all members of something called the Saturnalian Brotherhood, the Brotherhood of Saturn. Saturn was the god of darkness, chaos, and destruction. He teaches you a lesson. He will take your life if you don't listen to him. So consequently, Saturn was very, very important in the ancient world. Thank you. Saturn's name, incidentally, in the old Phoenician ancient Canaanite religion in the Middle East, the old Phoenician Canaanite worship of the planet Saturn was the most important god of all the ancient world, was the planet Saturn, and his symbol, long before the Hebrews were ever in Canaan, the symbol in Cana for the planet Saturn was a six-pointed star. Today we call that star the Star of David. There was no Star of David.